So Mark, so here we are. This is Take Me for a Ride. That's what this is.
Yes.
This is Take Me for a Ride. This is the first moment, I would say, of Take Me for a Ride.
Okay, so let me ask you a question then. If we were in the same room, then which room was it? Was it the blue room with the gefilte fish and Mrs. Higgins? You don't have to answer that because the microphones are rolling and, there's a legal team that parses through this. All right, you speak. All right, that's enough.
The music of the monkey.
When do we start having fun?
Chapter 1. Amazing interview on Bill Maher.
Yeah.
Do you ever watch Bill Maher?
Yeah.
He had on Thomas Chatterton and Barry Weiss, and he had, you may have heard, Thomas Chatterton is the one who led the charge on that letter that was written to from Harper's, and like 150 people signed it, just about a climate of fear about expression on the left. Like the kind of extreme left, basically policing what everyone says on the left, and a climate of purity, of trying to be as pure as you possibly can in terms of how you think. And if you say anything off of the, what would you call it? Because Barry Weiss explained politics now is becoming like everyone's religion. So if you veer off of the orthodoxy, you get slaughtered. And so they were talking about that. It was very interesting, very interesting to hear that. And that's just the left, That's not even looking, but Barry Weiss said she's a fear of like the center is just dropped out, that the moderates or things in the middle has just like evaporated. So very, very interesting.
You're saying the fear of the center has dropped out, so that
no. Well,
the center has dropped out.
The center has dropped out.
I see.
And only like the extreme views on both sides are tolerated. What I think cancel culture exists partly because of largely because of the internet, because there's this like digital dome where you speak something or you do something, it gets captured on video or audio, and then it's always there. And the press or anyone who's the press, anyone or any social media can keep referring back to it and keep seeing it and that becomes your identity, that everyone can always see that moment where you did something bad or that people, and it never goes away, and that's whereas like in a relationship you have these things and it's between you and this person, and that kind of dissipates over time, or maybe it doesn't. It couldn't, but in this case it did for you. You had some time passed, and that's kind of the natural, that's potentially the natural progression of things. Here I am, even like in my speaking, I'm like careful with how I say things. I realize, if someone listens to me and say, "Oh wait, he said that this is the way it is," I'm like, people, it's the exploring of ideas is a very wonderful human thing that we do. And I'm not taking a stand on all of these things. I'm not up in front of a crowd saying, this is the way it is. I'm, and I think a lot of people are trying to do that. They're trying to just like examine things and think about things, and without taking a stand on everything, but just saying like, oh, this is, this is an interesting thing to think about, and this is an interesting thing to think about. And, but people feel it's hard to do that. It's hard to be philosophical because anything you say, especially if it's captured on, like back to the comedians, if you say something and it's captured on stage and you're just more exploring, it's like, how will people react if I say this? How will people react if I say this? Or what does this feel like? And then it's captured and it's like, oh, he said this. Okay, cancel him. He's done. And it's like, what?
And of course, Eric, these days it's with video editing and audio editing software, it's so easy to take someone out of context and then cancel them for something that should not be canceled. But if I could just give an example of
You may.
what I feel you're saying, or you're discussing, or you're bringing up. A few hours ago, I was interviewed for my third book because we were talking about white nationalism and white supremacy and creating walls and the other and hating and creating fear in tens or hundreds of millions of people. And what that means. And Ian turned to me and he said, if you had an opportunity to reach out to Donald Trump and put aside all the concerns I have with him being the leader of the free world and all my concerns about how he's stepping on the checks and balances, the rule of law and women's rights and environment and screwing up all the agencies. I mean, there's such a long list of gripes I have. Just put that aside for a minute. It's still there, but just for a minute, put it aside. And Ian said, if you had a chance to reach out to Donald Trump and you had, a few hours or a few days, let's say 3 days, I forget exactly what Ian asked, but something like that. If you had a few days to spend with him, to try to open his eyes a bit, to change him, to have him see the world not necessarily as I see it, but maybe a little bit more in a different worldview. Because he said, it sounds like Trump sees the world very differently than you do. I said, indeed, he seems to. So he said, what would you do? And I thought about it for a second. I didn't have a lot of time to think because I was being interviewed. So, you got to, normally, someone asks me something and a few hours later I say, so I couldn't do that. I said to him, this is what I would do. I said, first of all, I would reach out to him and I wouldn't be snitty with him. I said, I don't respect the man, but I respect the office. So I'd say, Mr. President, let's go on an excursion. Let's go on an expedition. Let's go on a trek. Let's travel. And I would take him to Indonesia. And I would take him to Sulawesi.
Nice.
To Makassar. Ujung Pandang.
Take him for a ride.
Take the president for a ride. And then I would take him to Chile. And I would take him to Puerto Rico.
And he'd say, wow, Mark,
and I would
this
take
is
him
fascinating.
I would take him to all these places and show him how generous and how beautiful these people are and how important the trees are and the wildlife and the fish and the ecosystems and how in Indonesia, this horrible Muslim country isn't a horrible Muslim country. It's this big, huge country where people are generous and kind, and they invite you into their homes. People they don't even know who you are, and they invite you into their homes and say, "Do you need food? We'll feed you." Right. They don't have a lot of food, but they offer you food. Do you need a place to sleep? Stay in our bedroom. I travel all around the United States. No one ever did that to me here.
Right.
I would want Donald to see these things that I have seen, and to help him see some of these things a little bit through my eyes. That's not a pure. When I say that, Eric, I'm not speaking as a purist, hippie, left-wing Vermonter dude that in part I am. It's seeing it as exploring an idea that suggests a degree which probably is not there, but it suggests, just by talking about it, opens up an avenue of redemption, forgiveness, growth, learning. Now, unlike Susan Collins, I really don't think he's capable of it.
Chapter 2. It's time to talk about a book, and that book is Rising Out of Hatred by Eli Saslow. Am I correct? Is that his name? He's the writer?
Correct.
And
he writes for the Washington Post.
Yeah, and you and I both read that book, and we're both very moved by it. And so this is a story about white supremacy and a man. You remember his name?
Derek Black.
Thank you. Yes, Derek Black, who grew up in white supremacy, and but who ultimately saw the error in his ways, right? But just at the end of near the end of the book, you have these white supremacists seeing Donald Trump, and they're like, "What? Like, we've been trying to, and here's this guy comes along, and he's, got all these people. We've been trying to get those ideas out and it's just like I found it really. The whole Trump presidency has depressed me a lot for many reasons, but to read that, to be like, oh my gosh, yeah, he was like a superstar to people that who valued those ideas.
I think that's right, and I think those ideas are essentially quite a bit of white supremacy branded as white nationalism, which is one of the geniuses that the young Derek was bringing to the movement. He was sort of mapping ideas and trying to make them more mainstream, because all that talk was really considered quite fringe, and obviously much more than Derek. Derek was doing a fine job of it from the white nationalist, white supremacy point of view. Donald Trump did a far better job in the sense that he moved the line for, I don't know, tens of millions of people or whatever. He changed the whole dynamic, the whole discussion. He changed what is acceptable,
right,
in terms of speech, and what you share and how you act in the United States and possibly not very likely other parts of the world. So that was the dream of his parents and young Derek's parents and his uncle being David Duke,
right,
the former or current Klans member, I guess former. But Derek went in a different direction, didn't he?
He absolutely did. Yeah. Kind of amazing, and was willing to share his story, which I thought back to honesty, I thought it was bold. It was very bold to share that and have a book written about it. And it's really an amazing read for this era.
It's an amazing read, and what young Derek experienced is what I was trying to express to Ian when he was asking me about what I would do if I had 3 days with Donald Trump.
Right.
And that is, I would, as I said before, I would have him travel. And what Derek does, which opened the door for a transformation, is he traveled. He didn't travel so much to Indonesia or to Chile or to Puerto Rico or anything, or to Africa or anything like that. What he did was he traveled in a very human way, in that he went to a college where he befriended the other. He befriended the so-called enemy, the dark-skinned people, the Jews, the guy from Peru. He befriended an Orthodox Jewish guy who'd invite him each week to Shabbat dinners.
Totally. It was amazing.
And exactly. And that is the transfer. And the amazing thing is that these people, as disgusted as they were, not necessarily with Derek, but with his then beliefs, they kept their hearts open to him as a person.
Right.
And that opened the door to Derek's transformation.
Which is perhaps what's great about a college campus, and what's hard about modern society is that we don't have those opportunities as much as we want, right? To interact with people of different thoughts. We can only see them through the internet or through these kind of cartoonish, extremist sides of thought, right? And so you can't actually get to know people in, Shudder, and I think where I live, it's a bit, definitely. I mean, I think across the country, but like people are largely associate with people of the similar political beliefs, similar, and that's comfortable, and I get it, but it's hard to on a campus like that he was definitely allowed him to have friends of different stripes and shades and views, and so it spoke to, I think, both of us a lot, that book. So
I guess when I was reading Rising Out of Hatred, the main thing that came to my mind was how the journey into that movement, call it white nationalism, call it white supremacy, call it whatever you want to call it, it just seemed like a cult.
Yeah, that's right. You said that. Like I hadn't thought about that. Even reading the book, and then when you said that, I was like, oh, it is like it is a cult. It's not like one. It is, yeah.
And he got his. If you're inside that group, you get your information from these people and these people and these people, but not anywhere else. And you just limit a cult. It could be a destructive cult. It doesn't have to be destructive, but in a cult, you get your certainly if it's destructive, you don't get outside information. You get information that's been filtered by the cult itself.
Right.
And if you buy into the cult, you buy into those filters. So it was big news to Derek that black people or Jews or Muslim people could be super nice.
Right. Yeah, he was in the cult, right? So there was an orthodoxy there.
Yeah,
and it's a scary orthodoxy, but yeah, he didn't know any different.
Yeah,
so.
And when he got out of that group, it's very difficult. It's like leaving a cult.
Right. And yeah, he was kind of disowned, right? Everyone
disowned?
Yeah, disowned.
Yeah. And you have to reorient and create a new model of the world and create new social contexts and just sort of rebuild rebuilding oneself. And I say to Derek, hats off to you. That was quite a journey. And I appreciate him sharing that. I for one, learned a lot. And I think Eli Saslow did a great job in presenting the information. And a lot of the people, he presented these people as very human. I find that white supremacy, white nationalism, I'm repulsed by it. I'm a Jew, so I'm like, these people would hate me. Maybe they'd want to kill me. Who knows what they'd want to do?
Yep.
And I'm reading books right now about Nazi Germany, so these people are carrying Nazi flags and stuff like that, or some of them are. I'm absolutely repulsed. But these people are also human, and they have a human side to them, and I appreciated Eli's humanizing a lot of these people.
Yep.
They have emotions too, and they got to be the way they are because blah, 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 because their parents did this, and maybe they had a bad experience with blacks or with Hispanics or with Jews, or probably not. Maybe they didn't. I, for one, started. I had a hiatus in college and decided to go back to school out in northern Colorado. at CSU, and I left that school. There's too many white people. So I needed more diversity. I'm used to, I need. Of course, I'm in Vermont, so that's very confusing. But we all have our contradictions, Mr. Maring.
We do. Chapter 3. So, switching gears, do you recall in Rising Out of Hatred that Derek Black sings a tune at his, what is it, like a talent show at his college, and he sings it he interprets the song in one way, and other people hear it and they say no, and they were not pleased with necessarily with his singing it, and I think the tune there's a tune by Mason Jennings, called Adrian,
right?
Incredible, yeah. And I actually didn't know the tune, and I'm going to sing it for you.
Beautiful.
I haven't. I hope I got this down, but a deep tune. So check it out.
Looking down from the apple tree, mine's tied in back of me with this rope below my chin. We don't fear death, my Adrian. Trust me, son, that one day soon you'll be on the bottom where the boat breaks through to let our freedom in again. We don't fear death, my Adrian. From now on I am part of you. I'm the story that you'll tell. Let my life empower you. Let my troubles teach you well. Let your burning hatred go. Learn yourself until you know that fear is where all hatred begins. We don't fear death, my Adrian. From now on I am part of you. I'm the story that you'll tell. Let my life empower you. Let my troubles teach you well. As they set my last breath free, turn your eyes but don't fail to see the love you feel inside your skin. We don't fear death, my Adrian. We don't fear death, my Adrian.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. I think it's ironic from a certain interpretation that Derek was singing this because he was so steeped at a certain point in his life in hatred. And here he's singing a song about letting your hatred or letting hatred go, dropping it.
Yeah. Yep. And he even, I think he was still in the, in the throes of his white supremacy when he sang this tune, and people were a bit up in arms that he sang it, that he interpreted. He thought it was from a different era, like the song was referencing a different era. And I believe that it's inspired by events in Toni Morrison's Beloved. So but nonetheless, no matter what, the tune is, I'm grateful to have found that tune.
It's
in that book.
I'm grateful you found it as well. I think the line for me that stood out the most was fear into hatred. It's deeply psychological in that that's where hatred comes from, is a place of fear, a place of unknowing, and of being afraid of that which you don't know. And I wonder, maybe I'm overreaching here, but I wonder if at that point, on some subconscious level, he was feeling the power of that story, because as a foreshadowing of what would happen to him later on in his experience at that college.
Chapter 4. Mark, I have to ask you about your book. You're just putting this book out, man. It's incredible. You just put out this graphic. I'm not sure exactly. I want to say graphic. It's not a novel. It's not a novella. It's a graphic story.
It's a graphic book.
A graphic book. But
it's a nonfiction. It's a free PDF graphic nonfiction book.
Okay, but I get to talk. This book is. I love your book, T.M. Mark. I love it. You sent me a little bit of an advanced part of it, and I read it, and I was blown away. And I told you, I thought it was incredible. And everybody who's read it has said this is fantastic. And I think it's really neat about it is that kids have read it. And a friend of mine, Eric, said, "Oh yeah, my daughter read it." And then I said, "Oh, my young son, my 11-year-old son, I read it with him, and it was interesting. I didn't anticipate that. It's a book actually that not just for us adults, but for younger people to read as well. And I want you to talk about it, but I do want to. I think just from my point of view as a reader, I thought it's very interesting what you connected. Because you brought yourself into the book, and it's really about your experience in a cult, and it's very honest. And I appreciate honesty. The book was very honest. And I've heard the stories of this many times, and I've always valued them. And you're definitely the only person I know who's been in a cult and gotten out of it. But you kind of make that also clear that that's not totally true. That there's cults all around us, and cults of thought. And so you brilliantly connect your cult experience with what's going on today. And and I really think it's really a something I hope lots of people get to read. I actually did we say the name? Rama Trauma Trump, and obviously providing a link for that, but it's free to read and look at, because it is graphic, and very Marcy, I believe is her name, who did the graphics, did a wonderful job. And it's really So anyway, anything you want to say about the read? I can interview you, Mark, but we can just chat about it, because I just think I just think anyways, congrats on the book, dude. It was really, really, really well done. And it's amazing with these graphic. I think we've both read some other shared graphic novel experiences, right? And like Mouse, we both read Mouse, and I'm amazed what can be said in a graphic book, even in a short. This one is 35 pages or so.
32. Right,
32 pages. A lot can be said with a few words and powerful ideas. So,
well, no, thank you for that. I would start by thanking you, because writing this book in this way was your idea. And I thought about it, and I said, sounds like you're asking me to write a comic book. And it's very powerful. I'm thrilled that I did it. So I thank you, and I appreciate you sending me Mouse, M-A-U-S, a graphic novel about
right. Is it a novel?
The Holocaust?
It's a true story. Yeah, it's a true story. It's incredible. Yeah, Mouse is kind of the, if there's a graphic novel, you're gonna. I don't know what we call it. Is that a novel? I guess, or it's a true story.
Graphic story.
Right. But that's definitely the benchmark. I mean, that's an incredible, right? And so
powerful. It really inspired me. I'd also like to thank and take my hat off to Marcy Vallette, the illustrator, the artist,
Yeah,
who I collaborated with, because I think if the book works, and I'm thrilled to hear your feedback, it works because of Marcy's amazing illustrations. And also, she took my story and interpreted it and gave it a new sort of framework. And I think what she did was absolutely brilliant. I think it's a bit dark. Well, my story is a bit dark. There's humor in it.
Right.
There's humor to my story. She added lots of dimensions that were always there, but she perceived them. I didn't have to tell her a lot of stuff. I mean, I shared with her a script, and that shifted over time. It was just an amazing collaboration. I'm really grateful that she took time to do this. I feel really fortunate to work with her.
It was a great collaboration. Very evident. Yeah.
Yeah. I just think there's a genius there on her side. Please.
I just want to ask you, like, so what's you obviously there's a timing to putting this book out right now, and what's your hope with putting it out right now?
Right. So there's a little bit short of 3 months left before the presidential and also for Senate and Congress elections. My hope is to reach as many people as I possibly can, particularly people in swing states, and have them read it. The book is, as you point out, is entirely free. It's a download. One goes to www.ramatraumatrump.com, RAMATRAUMA, Trump, TRUMP.com. It's all free. Share it with your friends. I don't want any money from it. But I think maybe the target audience is 18-year-olds through 36-year-olds, but that's not really true because a lot of people outside that age group really enjoyed it, including a lot of younger people and a lot of older people. But the book is an attempt to encourage people to vote. It's sort of showing our current president of the United States as a kind of cult leader. He's not really a cult leader, but he shares a lot of characteristics with destructive cult leaders, and the book points that out. I think it's important for people to understand that, to have a mental map as to what the playbook is for destructive cult leaders and how that relates to the current executive branch, particularly if we want this democracy to last. So I see my book as one voice out of many to push back against a rising tide of fascism in the United States. And I'm not usually someone who would say anything like that. I'm not usually a conspiracy person or someone who's saying the sky is falling. I feel our democracy right now is in danger. So I am going to reach out to as many people as I possibly can to warn people. And to me, this is not Democrat versus Republican at all. This is about rule of law. It's about checks and balances. And I feel it's an important book. That's why I'm giving it away for free. If there's a large organization out there who would like to use it for fundraising, the DNC or Move On or Project Lincoln, Republicans for Common Sense, they can use my book for fundraising. Let them keep the money.
Right. Well, congrats on the book. I hope you're going to do more of these. I think you hit your stride as an author. So, diverging once again, there was something called Mr. Peach, Chapter 5, and Mr. Peach on the Beach was an idea that came out about 1,000 years ago, but it involved basically being in a space with a person, or it could be a duck or sheep.
Not a chicken.
No. But with that other person, you basically espouse any thought or idea or sound at the other person, and they feed it back to you, and there's no wrong sound or word that can come out of your mouth. It's really interesting.
No, that's not how it works.
No, it is.
No.
Yes.
Let me explain. So
by explain, what do you mean?
Well, the way Mr. Peach works is because there's an intricate network that is the pits. And it's
cancel, wrong, cancel, nope.
No.
You cannot say that, actually.
I feel like you're harping on...
Did you hear what...
Peach fuzz, and I don't think that's fair.
Did you hear what he said about peaches and the pits? Oh boy, Mark.
Wait! Is that the one who got $150,000? He paid her for her
pits. What?
No, that was Mrs. Peach
on the beach. You know what Mrs. Peach loves to do? She loves to preach about all the things that you could never teach. And it gets a little fuzzy.
Yeah, I'm a little fuzzy on that one.
Oh, Lord have mercy. And God forbid, you say something.
Did you get a college degree, by the way?
I did, and I got it in the...
Did you share any of these thoughts with your professors? Because I got a college degree, and when I shared these very similar thoughts...
Yes.
At a prestigious university in Southern California, I got into quite a bit of a
tizzy.
It was just a bit of a tizzy. Things were not smooth. Let's just call them.
Continue.
No, wait. You're triggering something in me. That's what the professors used to do to me. Don't do that to me. That's not fair. I would say, Dr. whatever. It turned out they weren't my doctors, just a professor. It was really kind of weird. I would explain.
Stethoscope.
And if you ever... No, don't do that. No, that's not fair. Because I would say, doctor?
Yes.
Or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would start explaining to the Mr. Peach story and the whole narrative of Momo.
Moo.
And they would go, that thing you just did, I can't do it. No, don't do it. Don't do it. No. It's triggering for me. I'm going to cancel you.
Peachy.
If you do that.
Peachy.
No. It was juicy. The whole thing was really juicy.
What did the doctor say? But what did the doctor say?
He did that same. No. Eric, listen, could I ask you a favor?
Does it involve sangria?
No, I just asked. I'm not asking you if I can ask you a favor to then ask you a favor. I already asked. Don't do that. Listen, you're not being honest because you're seeking the truth, but you're missing the honesty.
Define
because
honesty.
I'm over here.
Define honesty.
It has to do with one. I got a cat right here. Hello, Putty God. No, seriously. You want to see my cat? It's something I could say right now. I'm not going to say it, so don't you worry. I know that you know that I'm thinking that you know
that you know that I know. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Know what
I? And here's the tail right here. Can you see the tail? You see? Meow. You see that?
I do. Is that your tail, or are you just happy
I was just glad to see me. Yeah, I know. So let me tell you a story. Oh, geez, I forget what it was. No.
Yes?
No. When we were... Remember, your family and my family were in Darjeeling. And there was... miles plantations of ripening tea. Sorry. So when we were there, do you remember? Look, I like the corn. You like the other things. Do you remember what it was? Exactly. It begins with a mm.
What was
Do you
it?
remember?
Momo?
Momo.
Momo.
So the weird thing is Mr. Peach and Momo get together regularly.
Do they pick each other's noses, or is it a dipping kind of thing, like dipping?
It's more dip. It's more
dipping.
dip.
Not picking, dipping.
Dip in trunk. Dip in trunk. Dip in trunk. They do it with trees. I don't understand it. I used to show up in College Park, and I would go from house to house looking for Mr. Peach.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
Mr. Peach. He's at the beach.
He's on the beach. He's with the Sneetch. Wasn't that the book, The Sneetches? With the stars on their bellies?
Each of them got a Sneetch.
Do you know the Sneetches with the stars on their bellies?
The bellies of thar.
Yeah.
Each had a star. It was like the in-group versus the out-group.
Correct.
And I think there are those people in society. I got to learn how this thing works. I guess I talk here. Hello.
You talk into it. You go,
Mr.
like,
Peach.
Meow, meow. Exactly.
Meow, meow, meow. I feel like the people who know or are in the know about Mr. Peach, it's as if they have stars on theirs.
Stars on thars. Thars,
Yeah.
hars.
Stars on theirs. And it shifts every so often, and all the switching is done by Mr. Momo. By Momo, when he does that thing, I don't like it. So no. And whenever it switches, then everybody has to go, Mr. Peach, never heard of him. I don't know what you're talking about. Mr. Peach.
I have a final thought, because you were going to say something about the doctor and language. I have a thought on language, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts to finish on language. Here's my thought on language. When my son was 1, maybe 1.5 or so, this is Julian, and when he would see a truck or anything with wheels, he would say this, "Bib." He'd put his tongue in between his two lips, and he'd say, "Bib." So anything that rolled, anything that rolled like a truck was "bib." And I asked a linguist friend about that. I thought that was really interesting. He said, "Yeah, when we're younger, we explore hundreds, if not more, sounds." And then our language cult basically shoves us into a certain number of sounds that we can make in order to symbolize thought. And so that sound, "b," is not a sound we make in English. You don't make that. And there's all these different sounds that we use to symbolize thought. But that's not one of them. But young children explore the whole realm, and so anyways, we've used the symbols that we've been taught are the ones we can encapsulate as much thought as we can into these words, and that's what we've done here, taking each other and hopefully those that are listening for a ride. Your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, I would agree with what you said up to the point where you said, "Hey, Mark." All that to say, Doctor, is that I feel like you've just canceled me. In other words, you're saying that I'm just being honest, right? I'm the truth, but this is honest,
please.
right? You see? Blah, 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 blah. So what I'm trying to say, Mr. Peach, because that thing bothers me. What I'm trying to say in all seriousness.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I say in all seriousness. Or I could say in all seriousness.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, I disagree in that I don't follow any of those rules. I mean, I get it, Eric. You're sort of describing the norm, the typical if you want to, get into Brandeis or something and have a, kind of normal life. Actually, the people I know who went to Brandeis, none of them had normal lives. But that's okay. They're great people. I don't think any of them know about Momo. I don't know about the stars on ours. But, okay, we just switched it. Anyway, but the point is, I don't agree with that we don't in English use those sounds. I use them all the time. That's probably why I have to live up in Vermont and have very few friends. So anyway, I'm trying to make a point. I don't know what it is. And
cancel. We're going to get canceled.
No, I'm going to get canceled. This is our first show. So I just want to share with you this one thought.
Please. I'm taking it in.
I'm sorry, I just can't get there. But at some point, listen, if we have several of these, what do you call them, podcasts, Take Me for a Ride, maybe if people tune in each week or each month or each year, however often we do this, maybe they'll get that one thought that I want to share with you. It's not going to be this week.
So we have to stay tuned?
Right, but in the meantime, if you don't mind me experimenting, doing this thought experiment, like there's a word for it. It's like a verb. It's Bill Maring. Take me for a ride. When you say take me for a ride, it's the same thing as saying I'm going to now go Bill Maring. It's very, very similar. It's almost like taking Donald Trump to Indonesia. Bagus sekali. Bagus sekali. Ada kuda laut? Anyway, I guess my point is this. I will continue, whatever age I am supposed to be, to and do different sounds and shapes and explore different, maybe politically correct, maybe politically incorrect, maybe expedient, maybe not so smart, ideas and thoughts. And I could do these things. You don't have to, because you have friends and you need to keep your group of friends. But I'll do those things, and then you could always point to me as like an experiment.
Did you get it?
What?
Oh, you didn't hear? Oh, I just shared
just
something. You just missed it. I'll try again.
Wow, how'd you do that?
A lot of practice.
Wow.
Kind of like the quickest draw in the West. Do you know the quickest draw in the West? West?
The
Quickest draw in the West.
Quick Draw McGraw.
Quick Draw McGraw. Ready? He shares really deep stuff and blows your mind. You ready?
Yeah.
Did you get it?
Oh,
you missed it. Sorry, it's too late.
oh.
Hey, I'll see it.
No. Wait, no. I can't wait for the next one. Maybe I'll see it. Is that like that green flash that happens right when the sun goes down and the earth goes up and the moon goes left and right?
And then it goes kapowie.
Hello?
Hello?
Are you still there?
Good night.
Isn't that what Monty Python said in the Holy Grail? Good night.